Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We've been anticipating to share with you the information about the application for GoGettaz Agripreneurship Prize. And here is your opportunity to be able to have very good applications for this. This is a vital time for agri-food agripreneurs. We've always been saying that the food agripreneurs should transform agriculture and food supply in Africa. And this is the best time we can see that coming to happen just because of the pandemic that we are all facing. So the agri-foodpreneurs are at the front line of ensuring that innovation can help us get to the next level of this pandemic and food supply to be constant. So the questions that emerge for you, we should think about the import foods and how, and now that there's no transport, how do we ensure that we have local products replacing that and local food supply? How can we deliver directly to consumers now that the value chain is kind of broken? How do we ensure to improve shelf life of food? And how do we innovate and support farmers to supply food that is very nutritious, that will give us the resilience that we need during this time? So the GoGettaz Prize is going to inspire you, and there'll be 2 winners to receive 50,000 prize each. We'll have 10 finalists who will benefit from a suite of support that we've put together with PR through social media and linkages to mentors and investors. We'll have 200 applicants benefiting from receiving online trainings for free. We'll have every applicant with a chance to have an online profile. So as you answer the questions, please ensure to come out very strongly on what problem you're solving as a business, what's your business model, what market do you serve, it's about the social impact that you will have as a business, and who's in your. So these are very important questions that will help you have a very strong profile that automatically answers questions, that important questions that most investors and business partners would ask. So this is a good opportunity for you. So today on the webinar, we have a number of people that will help. One of them whom I'm going to invite, expert from BC4A, the organization that is powering our GoGettaz platform. So please, Batil, take us away on how we roll from here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dixon, and welcome to all the webinar participants. It's an honor to talk to you all and guide you through some of the questions that we're asking you to answer to participate in the GoGettaz 2020 Agripreneur Prize competition. My name is Bertel van Vught. I'm with VC4A. We're an online platform to support entrepreneurs to the resources and the funding they need to succeed. And we are a proud partner of the GoGettaz competition since last year, and we're hosting the application and selection process on behalf of the competition. And so today we really want to guide you through the process, but also look at some of the key questions that we're asking you to answer. So let me share my screen with you, and then we'll go through it step by step. So here we go. So for every competition, but also for this one, it is really important to really look at what it is that that the competition or the accelerator or incubator for that matter, but today we're talking about GoGettaz, is looking for. So it's important for you to really read through the information page that we've put together. You saw the video in the beginning, but it's also on the page. You can look at it again and then assess what we have in store for the finalists and for the winners, but more importantly, what it is that we're looking for in terms of eligibility criteria, selection criteria, and then there's the timeline. So for the eligibility criteria, there are certain things that you need to meet for you to actually be able to take part in this competition. If there are certain things that you don't tick, if there are boxes you don't tick, then this is unfortunately not for you. For the selection criteria, this is really the 5 things that the reviewers are looking for when they're assessing your application. So it's about innovation, how innovative is your solution, how unique is your approach to solve a customer's needs, what is the market that you're active in. This is a competition about agripreneurship, so it can be a business in any part of the value chain from farm to fork, as they usually say it. So who are your competitors? Who are your customers? What is the market potential? What's your go-to-market plan? These kind of things. Then the business plan. We are looking for for-profit businesses that are generating revenue. So how is your business generating revenue, or how will it generate revenue? What is your plan to scale up in the future? These kind of things. That's what we're looking for. And then also the impact. How does your business have a social or environmental impact? And if you're still at the beginning, how do you aim to create that impact? And then team. Who is in your team, and how experienced are they, and how are they complementary to each other? So those are some of the things that that we'll also be asking in the application form. So when we go to the form itself, you'll see that it's basically consisting out of 4 sections. So there's a getting started section, there's an about you section where we ask questions about yourself. Then there's information about your venture, and then we have some questions about the business vision. So it's built up out of 4 building blocks. And the getting started is just some more information you need to read and understand before you start applying. One of the things that is quite crucial is that your application has to be in English. I'm sorry for all our Francophone friends, but please spend some time on creating your application in English, as most of the reviewers also are English speakers. And you have to submit your application before the deadline on the 18th of June this year. And then as a second step, after submitting your application form, we would like you to create a company profile on the visifree.com platform if you don't have one yet. So after you submit, you get some fields to review, which are pre-filled after your submission, for you to then look at creating the company profile, which is a public-facing profile that other people can find, and it's really your online business card in a way on the Visifree platform. And during next week's webinar, we'll talk more about that and all the benefits that will give you. What is also important is that before you start the process, is to not share commercially sensitive or other details that you don't want anybody else to read. Of course, the reviewers are not sharing any of your data with anybody outside of the Generation Africa team, but it's good to think about what are you willing to share, and what are some of the things that you you want to keep for yourself or within the company. So then we go to the About You section. What you see at the top is a repetition of the eligibility criteria that you've also read on the information page. And if you answer any of these with no, it means that you're not eligible for this competition. So you have to click all of them with yes. And of course, you have to speak the truth. If you are clicking yes while you're not meeting the criteria, it will come out at some point. And yeah, you're wasting your time to apply, and I wouldn't recommend that. Some information has already been pre-filled from your user profile when you set up your account on the VC platform, but you can also still adapt that information. I won't go into the details here because it's pretty straightforward. We do ask you to upload a CV, just a document outlining your experience in terms of education, but also work-wise. Maybe you've worked for a company before you started your own, and just to give an overview of who you are. Then we go to the About Your Venture section, which again starts with the eligibility criteria, but now about your company. Here you also have to tick everything with yes to continue. And then we have some basic questions about your company and the website. If you don't have a website yet, just fill in one of your social media channels. And then also optional, you can fill in your other social media channels and even stories or articles or videos that have been produced about you. Next week, we will talk more about the importance of having a coherent quality presence online. But the more you already have that, I think the better it is for your application. Then there are questions about the founding date and the business stage you're in, the incorporation date if you are incorporated, and questions about your co-founders. Now here we get to the first, I would say, really key question to answer about the leadership team. Any reviewer, but even also investors for that matter, are always very interested in the team you have assembled around you, because the business idea can change over time. You can pivot, you can really go into a different direction when you feel or when you see that the market, needs something else based on first experiences. But the team is the team consisting of, the right people. Do they bring skill sets that are complementary to each other? And are they also able to turn the business around if that is needed? So question 24 is really important here. Spend time on putting this together, because it's really a key question. And so not just list names and the job description, but really also go into, why is this working out as a team? Why is this the best composition of people taking your business forward? And then we talk about the number of employees, the business headquarters, where you are operating, in which sectors. And then we get to innovation. So question 29 is also an important one, because GoGettaz is really looking for innovative businesses. They can be, again, in any part of the value chain, but there has to be something that is different from how it's used to be. So please focus on this question and bring it across as clear as you can. When reviewers have a hard time to understand what your solution is about, your chances are going down. It's really important to be able, in a few sentences, to be able to bring across your message. And this is not only for an application form, this is for any conversation you have with potential partners, customers, investors, anybody who is asking you, what do you do? What is your solution about? What is your service about? That you are able to describe that in a quick and compelling and easy to understand way. So also question 29, please spend time on formulating this in a clear way. Then we have a question about impact, where we really want you to think about the social impact or environmental impact, or both. So with social impact, we're really talking about, for instance, you know, the amount of jobs that you are creating as a company. Maybe direct by really employing people, or indirect by sourcing from smallholder farmers, or having a distribution network of informal shops somewhere, or big shops. And so what is the social impact? What are the results of you operating as a business on people and on your customers? Or environmental impact, where you talk about, you know, how your model is so much more sustainable than other models in terms of the environment. And so question 31 is also one of the key questions we're looking at, as it is part of the selection criteria. Then we go to the business vision and the model. So here we talk about the market, who are your customers, and what's the market potential. What we also always really look for is for you to be really able to talk about the market size, like how big is the market that you are addressing, and how large is the share that you think you are able to capture. And every investor I talk to says, you know, when people have a vision on this, I'm also just trying to understand how they come to these numbers, because it's not always very easy to get the numbers about market sizes, especially in different parts of the African continent. So it's not so much about like the exact number, and if you are correct about that number, it's more about the thinking behind it. Does the thinking make sense? And even if the numbers are maybe not 100% correct, how realistic are you in terms of your projections? So the more numbers you can use about this is the better. Then competitors never say, you know, I don't know, or there are none. Really focus on the other organizations or businesses that are in your field, and make people understand that you are aware of them, and also to say that how you're different. Then the business model. Again, here we ask about your revenue generation. Even if you're not generating revenue yet, if you're really early stage, come up with some explanation on models and also numbers on how you think you're going to generate the revenue in the future. It's key to mention you know, the plans to scale it up, and there, even if you only have a few customers at this moment, it can already tell you something about your potential to grow. And many entrepreneurs are very optimistic about their growth. Also be a bit cautious about that. Sometimes, you know, you see these hockey stick models like, oh, this is how the future will be. It's logical that you're optimistic, but reviewers of this competition, but also investors, are always looking for a realistic growth model. So be optimistic, but also be realistic. Then we ask you about your business model, if you're business to business or business to consumer, or all the other options that you see there. And then if you already have a paying customer, give us the date of when you got your first paying customer, as that tells us a lot on where you are in the process of building your business. If it's still idea stage, or are you already getting some people to pay for your product or service. And then we ask about your turnover, if you're already making a profit. If you're not, just leave it blank. And then there's some other questions about your business challenges and your intellectual property. The last question that I really want to go into is question 41, where we ask you how you would invest the $50,000 US if you would win GoGettaz 2020. And here we want you to be as specific as possible. So try to break down how you would spend this money. And the more elaborate you are about this, and the more we are able to get a real clear vision from how you would spend the money, the better. So also spend time on this question and be as specific as possible. And then there's some tick boxes you have to tick to say that you're aware that you're meeting the terms and conditions, which you can also visit on the Generation Africa website, and to update your VC profile, and then you click submit to get the application to us. And make sure you do that before the 18th of June this year. That's it for the application form. If you have any questions, please type them in the Facebook chat on the under or next to the video, and we will be reviewing the questions that are coming in, and then we will be answering some of them now. Others we will look at after the webinar and give you an answer in writing under the video. So that's it for now. Back to you, Dixon.
Well, thank you so much, Bertil, for a very elaborate explanation on the questions, and I like the way you took it up. We'll take you now to our communications expert, Jane Machigere, just to see if there's any questions that have come up already, so that, Jane, you can ask Bertil the questions. Thanks, Jane, over to you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Bertil, Nana from Ghana wants to know, so you're saying they need to use numbers as much as possible in the descriptions. Nana has just started his business and he doesn't have a large number of customers yet. What advice could you give him?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Like I already mentioned, even if you only have a few customers, you can already talk about them. And maybe you just started selling your product and you only have 10 customers in the first month. That already says something about your business, because there are people that are willing to pay for your product. Or even if you have some discounts or some introduction service that you give out for free, just to test the responses of the customer base. That is really, really important. So it's not so much about 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 of people. We just want to see if there is some interaction with customers already. And if it is still idea stage, then try to give us as much as you can a projection of how big you think your audience is going to be, and how do you get to these numbers. It's really about the thought process on how you actually see the surroundings and how do you see the potential of your business, than maybe the large numbers that you want to impress people with. It's better to use small numbers than no numbers whatsoever. If there are no numbers in your application, that is definitely something that people will question. You know, how do they, you know, understand their market if there are no numbers to back it up?
Great, that's very clear, Bertel. Thank you for answering that question. Anne would like to know whether one can modify the information after you have submitted the form. She's also commenting that the form is very long. Can she fill it in over a longer period of time? And can she save the answers?
Yes, indeed. So once you've submitted your application, you're not able to modify it. But until you submit it, you can save it. So basically, you can, if you wanted to answer 1 or 2 questions every day, and then click on save and continue later. So once you go back to the application form, you can just take off where you ended the day before. Also to make sure that people who get into, you know, connectivity or electricity issues when the laptop battery dies and there's no power supply or something like that, every time you go to the next question, your answers are saved. So you're never losing any information that you put in.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Bertel. I have what looks like a final question for now. Obviously, questions can still be submitted to all those that are watching. Linda from Kenya wants to know when they describe the use of the $50,000 prize money, how detailed should they be?
Right. So that's a good question. What we want to see is really the thinking behind it on the high level. So don't go into the nitty-gritties of, you know, I would spend $50 on this and another $50 on that, but get the big picture. So okay, this is what my business needs at this moment, and these are the big chunks. Let's say the 5 or the 6 main elements that I would spend it on, and then also give a breakdown of the amounts. So 10,000 would go into hiring a marketing person for you know, getting our story out there, or we would spend so much on advertising on Facebook or on billboards, or, you know, break it down in about 5 to 6, 7 main buckets. But also describe why it is that you're spending it on these things.
Okay, great. There's one other question from Judith, and she's asking, what will the selection process look like when the application period is over?
Yes, right. So once we get all of the applications in, first we'll do a check on the eligibility criteria. So we'll just double check if everybody is meeting those criteria. We have some systems for that to make those checks. And then we look at, so when all of these that are not meeting those criteria are out, we're basically going to look at the key questions that I highlighted earlier on to see if, you know, there is indeed an innovative approach, if there is a good business model behind it, what the social and environmental impact is, and these kinds of things. And that is how we're going to boil it down to a short list. And that short list is going to be assessed by independent judges. So they're going to look at these companies and these applications, and they're going to rate those against the selection criteria. And the highest scoring companies, they will get into a list of the ones that we're gonna really engage in an interview. So we're gonna schedule conversations with them. We might ask them for additional information, and based on these interviews, we're gonna make our final selection.
Great, thank you, Bertel. That is very informative indeed. We're going to move on with the plan for today. There will be another Q&A closer to the end of the webinar. But right now, I will hand over to Dixon to introduce Bonolo.
Great. Thank you, Jane and Batil, for the question and answer. Just like Jane said, we'll have another session for questions and answers. So now we want to turn over and talk to real people who applied for this competition last year and emerged winners. So we are lucky to have our 2 prize winners for last year, for 2019, on the call. And so we are going to start with the lady. This is none other than Bonolo Monthe of Maungo Craft, all the way from Botswana, who won. So let's hear from her.
Hi everyone, my name is Bonolo Monthe from Maungo Craft, and today we're going to be sharing with you some tips and ideas of how you can fill out your application for the GoGettaz Agripreneur Competition 2020. So I wrote down some tips and some ideas, and I shared this with my team as well, and these are the tips that we've come up with that we feel would be very useful for you and helpful, and hopefully bring some insight on how to fill out your application. So the first and most important thing is you have to have self-belief. You need to believe in your solution. You need to believe in your business, because if you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect other people to believe in you. And even in the way you fill out the form, you will fill it out in a manner where you're not exuding the confidence, and people will pick up on that. So most importantly, believe in yourself, believe in your solution. All right. And then I made some notes. And then another thing is that for us, our application, it was a collaborative effort. So I didn't fill out the application on my own. I did my application with my partner, Yemi. And together, we tackled the application together. We looked at the questionnaire, we looked at the questions, we looked at the competition, and, unpacked it and said, what are they looking for? And we worked on it together. So don't be afraid to pull in your team members together, work on it together, and collaboratively answer the questions, because then you can harness each other's strengths and then take it from there. So, and it was a lot of fun as well, because you pick up on things that the other person doesn't pick up on. Don't be afraid to work with your team in putting together your application. Another important thing is, before you fill out the application online, take time to go through the application, so you're not filling it out for the first time when you see it. Study the questions, look at the questions, also sort of see what is GoGettaz looking for, what are they asking for from you, what do they need you to convey and to explain to them, right? Feel free to even write out and type out the answers on a different piece of paper, and then you can paste them on the application form, because you don't want to have to think and paste and write at the same time. It's a lot of pressure, and you don't have to do that to yourself. Remember that this is your company CV, so you're representing your company and you want to put your best foot forward. Another thing is, when you're filling out your application, remember to not leave out critical information about your solution. You don't want to be ambiguous. You don't want people guessing what, you don't want them guessing that, they think they know what you're saying. Be direct, be concise. Your words are like currency. Spend them well. Don't be long-winded. Get to the point. Give enough detail. Don't be too broad. But basically, you want that when somebody reads your application, they can understand the ins and outs of your business without even meeting you. Another really interesting one is the impact of your solution. What impact does your solution have for your country, for the continent? I mean, right now we're living in a COVID-19 time. We're going to be living in post-COVID-19. Does your business have the ability to adapt to what's taking place? Are you impacting your community, socially, environmentally? Make sure you communicate all of that so they can see the larger impact that your business has. And what problems are you solving? Like I said earlier on, these are COVID-19 times. We're having food supply issues, supply chain issues. We need to manufacture more. So just make sure that the solution you're presenting is solving a current problem. And you better believe there are going to be 1,000 applications. I mean, last year I think there was around 3,000 applications. So what are you going to do to ensure that you stand out and that you capture the judge's attention? Think about that as you're putting together your application. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Make the most of it, represent your business well, and we wish you the absolute best.
Wow, great. That's very powerful. Believe you me, we have felt you, Bonolo, and the entrepreneurial spirit is now needed more than ever. So we'll turn over to our other winner for last year, and that's none other than Isaac Cece. Isaac is the CEO for Sesi Technologies, all the way from Ghana. Let's hear from Isaac.
Hello, my name is Isaac Sesi. I am the founder of Sesi Technologies in Ghana and one of the winners of last year's GoGettaz Agripreneur Prize. Today I'm happy to share with you some insights on how to make the most out of your application and how to position your application to stand a good chance of making it to the next stage. So first of all, I'm going to share some insights on how to answer certain specific questions in the application. And then secondly, I'm just going to share some general tips for your application. So first of all, you have to realize that it's not just about how you feel in the application. Your product or service must be interesting and innovative. What new thing are you doing? What new way are you solving a problem? It's not just about having an idea. It's about having an idea that is interesting, that's innovative, and that can scale. When it comes to the problem, answering the problem, you have to be able to clearly articulate the problem you're trying to solve, the extent of the problem, who it affects, and how it affects them in a way that is very easy to understand to people who have no idea of the problem. Your solution as well, you have to describe it in a very clear way, which is concise and show how your solution addresses the problem. You also have to be clear on your business model and how you make money, how your company makes money. And this is important because the reviewers are looking for businesses that have the potential to scale. So you have to be able to demonstrate that your business can scale and make money and become profitable later. Also, if you can demonstrate that your business has multiple and recurring revenue streams, that will be a plus to you, but it's not compulsory. Now, when you're answering the question of who are your main competitors and what's your company's competitive advantage, it's important to clearly articulate how you stand out from your competitors. Never say that you do not have competitors. It only shows that you have not done your homework. When it comes to the question about what your biggest challenges are and how you're currently solving them, the reviewers want to see your initiative and your proactiveness, whether you're taking action or whether you're just waiting for your problems to magically disappear, because entrepreneurs don't make excuses, they solve problems. So it's important to show how you're being proactive. Now, when it comes to answering the question of share an example of your entrepreneurial mindset, you have to really project yourself and focus on your entrepreneurial achievements. If there were times that you overcame great obstacles to get something done, you have to highlight those. Put yourself in as much positive light as you can and project yourself from a position of strength. So that's it for some of the questions. Here are some other tips as well. If you have videos or highlights of your work by any media source, please share them. It will put you in a good position, and reviewers will be able to understand what you are trying to do better, because videos say a lot of things that words cannot say. Be very specific on how you intend to use the money the prize money. Don't be vague and don't create the impression that you really don't know what you want, because they're putting in money in your business hoping that you're going to use it for specific needs and it's going to bear fruit. So be very, very particular and clear and specific about how you intend to use your money. Highlight any other awards you have received. This is going to give what we call social proof that other people have recognized your work. Also follow the rules of the competition. A lot of people just do anything at all without reading the rules. It's important to read the rules. Start your application early so that you're not in a rush to submit it, because when you are in a rush to submit, you don't put in your best work. So once you start your application early, you have enough time to be able to complete the application. I also recommend that you copy the questions into a separate document and dedicate some time every day to work on the application. If you have co-founders or if you have other team members who can work on the application with you, get them to also pitch in and do so. If you can get other people in the field to review your application before you submit, and give feedback before you submit, that would also be great. Some people get up and just try and apply within like the first few days of the application's opening, and you realize they don't do a very good job. The fact that you apply first does not mean that you're going to be selected. So just take your time, take it one day at a time, work on the application one day at a time, and then put in a good application. So I hope that these tips that I have shared will help you be able to put in a good application, and I wish you all the best in this application. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, we actually wish the applicants well, like you said. So yeah, let's transition over back to Jane, spend some time on questions and answers. So you're welcome to shoot your.
Sure. So here's a question for Bonolo. Tafika from Zambia is asking that you say we should believe in ourselves and be confident. Where do we get the self-confidence from when we are just starting a business?
Hi, Jane. Thank you. That's a very, very good question. It's all about self-confidence, hey? I mean, it's about having the vision. You need to believe in your ability to solve the problem. You need to believe in your solution. You have to envision a world before you can create it. And part of getting self-confidence is doing your research, coming up with a strategy. Knowledge is power. The more you know about your industry, the more confident you'll feel. The truth is there will be challenges, and expect challenges. Relish them, and also notice I didn't call them problems. They're just challenges. However, how you overcome challenges is what will set you apart from your competition and will form your unique selling points. Like I said, research your solutions with your hands, then use your heart. You will need to keep your heart strong to follow through. This framework is where our confidence will come from. I listen to a lot of talks on YouTube about building your mental strength, and you have to be your biggest.
Wow, that's very inspiring, Bonolo. Thank you for that answer. Isaac, there's a question for you. Quinton from Johannesburg wants to know, when he describes his innovation, how detailed should he be? Because he's worried that people may steal his idea.
So I think, like Berto said, don't put in anything that you think is intellectual property that you are afraid people will steal. And my personal opinions about ideas are that usually the value of the idea is more in the implementation than in the actual idea itself. So you shouldn't be too worried about things that are very sensitive. Like I mentioned, a framework to use would be to look at what problem you're trying to solve, how it affects people, the extent to the problem, and how your solution is solving that problem in a way that is clear, concise, and that makes sense. So if you follow that framework, you would not need to
Okay, thanks, Isaac. I think we got most of that. Thank you very much. There is a final question for Bonolo, if you're still with us, Bonolo. Marianne from Mali wants to know what advice you would give to fellow female entrepreneurs, and how can they keep going with their businesses in these difficult times that we are facing with the pandemic. Okay, I think we may be having some slight challenges there with Bonolo's connection. So back to you, Dixon.
Yeah, thank you so much. At least we managed to get most of what our last year's finalists told us. And so for me, is to encourage all the entrepreneurs to continue listening to us. We're going to have 2 more upcoming webinars. So the next webinar is going to be on how to present your business online. And there's only one chance to make a first impression. So this is going to be very critical because over and above, like I said earlier, over and above the winning and the prizes, there's an advantage of investors seeing your online profile and bringing in their suite of supports to come along, just the same way we've been able to support the last year's contenders and winners. So look forward to the next webinar. Prepare in good time, do a good job. We are here to support the entrepreneurs and to make sure that the food systems are not affected by COVID-19. Thank you so much, everybody. See you in the next call.